Hey, really happy to be here. Almost feels like home with some IKEA furniture with me here on stage. I'm here to talk about People and Planet Positive, the IKEA sustainability strategy that we launched a few months ago, which builds on a strategy that we launched in 2012, which then builds on consecutive strategies that we've had since the 1980s. We just, in this summer, commissioned research around 14 markets, 14,000 people, asking them about how do they perceive climate change and what are their attitudes to climate change. We do this because we want to understand where customers and co-workers are when it comes to these issues happening on the world right now. What we saw very clearly is that 2/3 of those interviewed are concerned and worried about climate change, especially those in the younger age group and those with children. And we also see that more and more people are aware and also are mobilizing, where plastic pollution in the oceans is one area that went very quickly from the first reports being issued of really how bad the problem is in the oceans, to a real mainstream media attention to it this summer, and then now having legislation banning single-use plastic. And this is what we will continue to see, a much faster movement from original awareness to legislation. And digitalization is one of the reasons for this, because people can meet and share and mobilize much easier today than ever before, also when it comes to sustainability. What we also saw in this research is that 8 out of 10 connect climate change to human activities. So people understand that climate change is caused by our collective everyday actions, and also our businesses' everyday actions. We also saw in the research that 9 out of 10 are willing to make changes in their everyday life. With this, though, we still know that people love to shop. So they are willing to make changes, but not radical changes. They still want to aspire to a better everyday life, or also here and now have a better everyday life. They don't want to radically change that. We also see, when we talk to our customers and our employees, that we have two groups. There's those who really want to make a difference, and they really seek out brands and companies that they believe share their values and their personal beliefs. They also look for companies that have products and services that they believe are the right products and services. But then there's also a lot of people who simply feel like climate change, circular economy, these buzzwords, what do they have to do with my day-to-day? How am I going to relate to this? So we have a lot of different peoples and attitudes out there. So in general, what we can see is that a lot of people are really finding it difficult. How can I get this puzzle to work? Isn't there a mismatch between really creating a better everyday life and having a sustainable life? This is the ambition that we have set out in IKEA, to really enable 1 billion people to live within the limits of one planet. We do this because it's the right thing to do. It fits with our culture and values, but it's also a business imperative to do so, because we see consumer behavior changing very fast. And our business is about understanding the needs and dreams of the many people, because we are about the many people, which is really going back to our vision, which we've had since we were founded 75 years ago, which is about creating a better everyday life for the many people. And if you set out to have that as your vision, you really need to understand what is a better everyday life. And we believe that a better everyday life is a sustainable and healthy life. It's a life where you can breathe the air around you, where you can drink the water, where you have a safe neighborhood, where you can provide for your family and your children. That is a better everyday life. And we want to do that for the many. So we really look into the details of life at home, really understanding what are the needs and dreams, what are the pain points in people's life at home. But we also, of course, look at what are the mega trends, what are the big things and the big shifts happening in society right now. And what we have identified, which I think most of you don't think is very strange, because these are three big common issues across the whole world. It's around climate change, it's around inequality, it's around unsustainable consumption. So we're looking at these three, understanding how will this impact our business and our business model and our customers and our co-workers. What we see with climate change, for example, is that we're making a lot of progress when it comes to the uptake of renewable energy. It's going actually faster than thought or expected. We see also huge price decreases when it comes to solar panels, battery storage, and electric vehicles. So for some of these, 80% drop in prices over the last 10 years, which means that it's becoming accessible to the many. But despite all these real good progress, the IPCC report that was issued a few weeks ago is actually saying this is not enough. It's not going fast enough. We have 12 years till 2030 to really reverse this trend, to make sure that we stay within 1.5 degrees and not 2 degrees. And we're already at 1. So we need to make drastic changes to really meet the Paris Agreement. What we also see when it comes to inequality is that, yes, we have halved extreme poverty in the last 2 decades. So we made huge progress. But we also see that inequality is growing, especially within borders. And we see a polarization in society. And I think you all know that and see that in your day-to-day lives. And then when it comes to unsustainable consumption, we talk about unsustainable consumption because it's not only about overconsumption. We also have a lot of people who cannot provide for their family here and now. So we have overconsumption, but we also have underconsumption. But altogether, with all of us on the planet, we are now using 1.7 planets. And you don't need to be a chief accountant to know that we don't have 1.7 planets. All these three are interconnected, so you cannot work with one of them. They all interconnect with each other, and we need to find system solutions to this. So from this, truly understanding people's needs and drives in life at home, and then also understanding the big mega trends happening in society, we've identified 3 areas for our sustainability strategy. One is, how can we inspire and enable people to live a healthy and sustainable life? How can we simply make it irresistible to do the right thing? The second one is, in our own operations and in our extended value chain, how can we become circular and climate positive? And the last one, but not least, is really throughout the value chain, how can we secure that we empower people, that we're an inclusive business, and that we create meaningful jobs for those who work for us and our extended value chain. So those are the 3 areas that we work with. Quickly about IKEA, I think many of you know, but IKEA Group, where I work, is the largest franchisee in the IKEA franchise system. We have 367 stores. We have 44 shopping centers across 30 markets. We have about 2.35 billion visits to IKEA.com every year, and around 800 million visits to our stores. They had a turnover about 35 billion euro last year. So we have the ability to reach a lot of people. So when it comes to sustainability, what do we do then? The starting point is really democratic design. Democratic design is how we develop products. And we start by truly understanding what are the needs and dreams of people, what are the pain points in life at home. So we do home visits, we do life at home reports, understanding where are people when it comes to life at home. The starting point is then looking at democratic design, which is 5 principles, where function, style, quality, sustainability, and low price are the 5 dimensions. And the low price is the starting point. Because if you are for the many people, you need to make sure that what you produce and what you design is something that the many, those also with thin wallets, can afford. When we look at this, the next step when it comes to sustainability is very much about using as little material as possible, because you can't waste materials when you want to be affordable. So that's the starting point. Then it's looking at what materials are you using. We've set out to only use renewable and recycled materials by 2030. 60% of our products contain wood, and of the wood that we use, over 70% of that is FSC, which is Forest Stewardship Council, or recycled wood. When it comes to cotton, which is another big raw material, 100% is sustainable cotton. So it's really looking at what are the materials we're using. It's also looking at how do we fuel this system throughout the whole value chain. But looking at our stores and our shopping centers, today we produce 70% of the energy we consume as renewable energy. So we are one of the largest private investors in renewable energy, mainly wind and sun. And we've invested over 2 billion euro in the last 5 years. The second part is really looking at how can the function of the product really enable people to have a lower environmental impact at home. LEDs is a fantastic example where the minute you put it in at home, you will have a lower energy bill. So it will save you in your pocket, but it will also have a smaller environmental impact. We're also looking at waste and water, truly looking at how can the function of the product really enable you to live a smarter and more sustainable life. We're also looking into new solutions. This family in the UK is one of the families that have home energy solutions or home solar solutions from IKEA, which used to be something quite tricky and technical, but now it's actually affordable for the many. And we have it in 6 markets, and we're aiming to roll out in all our markets by 2025. Food is an important part of sustainability. Health and sustainability, the things we put in us. That's why we are looking into new ways of serving our customers in the restaurants. This is the latest addition. This is veggie hot dog. We also already have veggie balls and salmon balls. And we're also looking into plant-based alternatives, for example, the lasagna. And also looking into urban farming. So all kinds of new solutions of being able to provide people with healthy and sustainable food. And the starting point, as I said, is really about understanding people's life at home and their needs and dreams. And this is from home visits when we went into India and we opened our first store there a few months ago. Really understanding what are the needs in India. We're also working with circular economy. We are testing around 100 different projects around all our 30 markets right now to understand what is circular IKEA about. For example, in Japan, we're offering a renting service, but also a buyback service. And Japan, as you know, is an island surrounded by water, so they're very aware about material scarcity. We also know that one of the biggest hindrances for buying new furniture is not knowing what to do with the old. Because people live in small spaces, it's difficult and it's expensive to get rid of your old things. And people also feel guilty about getting rid of their old things. So we launched this buyback service 2 years ago. We have taken back around 6,000 products, and more than 80% of them have been refurbished or repaired and then sold back. So sold to other people who wanted these products. And what we look at now when it comes to circular economy is really how can we meet the needs of customers in a new way? Through how they acquire products, where we know that more and more people are moving away from ownership to usership. You want access to a function rather than owning a thing. We're also looking at how can we change and improve when you live with products. How can you repair it? How can you take care of it? How can you upgrade it and make it more needed for you and fit for your needs? And then we also see people more and more starting to think about how will I pass this on, even when they're at the beginning of the acquiring. They really start to think of what will I do? Because this product has an emotional value, a functional value, or an economic value. Not just for me, but also potentially for someone else. So coming to the end, there's a lot of work still to be done. Most things remains to be done. Some of the challenges we see is really how to really create and co-create. How to create together with people rather than for people. This requires new ways of working, where platforms is one way, but we need to find new ways of working together. And the second one is really how do we measure impact? How do we truly know that all these activities adds up to something that truly has a positive impact? Not just for us, but for our customers and for our co-workers, and ultimately for society and the planet. So those are two of the challenges. And I know that many of you are reflecting on similar things like we do here at IKEA. So I really want to leave you with, we cannot solve this alone. The problems we're facing, the opportunities we're facing, we will tap into them faster if we do it together. So we need all aspects of society, if it's NGOs, scientists, startups, social entrepreneurs, big companies, techies, non-techies. We really need all of us to come together, identify the problems, imagine a solution, deciding what to do about it, and then making it happen. So let's stay in touch. Thank you.